Trumpet, the new frontier. Hello, band world. Welcome to episode 10 of Stuff Band Directors Wish They Had Time to Teach. I am Steve Bottom, your host, and as I usually remember to mention, I am a performing artist and educational clinician for Bach Trumpets, which is a division of the Conn-Selmer Corporation. And now I am also pleased and proud to mention that as of about a week ago, I was waiting for this episode to announce it, I am also an endorsing artist for Warburton Mouthpieces, which is a division of Warburton Music Products. So again, this is really just formalizing a relationship that's existed since 1991, and I'd never pursued an endorsement before. And when I half-jokingly brought it up last episode and then actually contacted Terry to pursue it, he was open to the idea. I am not on their website yet. I've been told that might happen this weekend. They have a part-time IT guy, and that hasn't been updated yet, but the written offer was received and returned. So even though it's not on the website yet, it is official. Incidentally, the Warburton products that I play a 4M cup and rim with a 4-back bore, and then for commercial and piccolo and other high horn things, I use a 4S rim and cup with a 4-back bore, and then flugelhorn mouthpieces, the basic 4FL. So moving on, I'm going to try to zip through this right away because this is actually going to be episode 3 of recital and performance procedure and preparation, and it's really gone longer than I'd expected, but I had a lot to say about it. See, I made a couple of notes here. Again, I'm not going to rehash the last 2 episodes because they were long enough as is, and I invite you to go back and watch those, episode 8 and episode 9. Wrong notes. You know, I know we're trained that wrong notes are bad, and generally right notes are better, I'll give you that, but not at the expense of musicality. So especially if you're in solo and ensemble or a competition, I've seen this happen so many times in my younger days. It's happened to me once or twice. You miss a note, and even though you're still continuing to play on, you lose your focus because you're still thinking about the note you missed. And then often, you know, you'll miss 2 or 3 more just from lapse of attention because you're worrying about that first note. I am fortunate enough by this point, you know, in my career and in my life, that pretty much all the major names in trumpet I've been able to work with, either by grabbing at least one private lesson with them or playing for them in a master class. You know, I've met them all just about, and there is one thing they all have in common without exception. I have heard every single one of them miss notes in live performance. You know, I'm talking major, internationally acclaimed artists, all of whom you would recognize if I were to name them, but I don't because someone, you know, might not appreciate that, me, you know, tying their name in with missed notes. But they've all missed them, and you know, you reach that level, you've got a certain level of honesty about you that you know you have no problem admitting that. So as for my own experience, boy, I've had some real doozies, and I've even had them in major situations. The second national competition that I ever won was the 1995 National Trumpet Division, Graduate Division, and I didn't miss any notes in the semifinals, but in the finals, I missed 2 notes, and I still won. So clearly, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, you know, to be at a very high level. And you know, most judges are not bean counters. You know, they're going to give somebody a mulligan, you know, if they're just really just wringing every last drop of musicality out of the piece, as opposed to somebody, you know, who plays it pretty sterile and safe and might have fewer inaccuracies. So what I started doing when I was in high school, because by that age I'd already noticed this tendency, you know, that if you can't get past that wrong note, that more usually follow, is I would expect that there would be at least one wrong note in anything I played. That doesn't mean I tried to miss it or that I looked forward to it, but I would expect it. So that when it happened, I was like, oh, hello, old friend, welcome. Okay, now that's out of the way, I can get on. And just learn to let it roll off of me. Now, it's easier said than done, especially at first. But I can tell you that the more that you put yourself out there and play for people, the less wrong notes, and they're always going to happen occasionally. First of all, the less they'll happen, but the less they'll bother you as well. That I know if it's been a busy semester, and I'm giving a recital and I haven't played live for anyone in 2 or 3 months, which on occasion has happened, then I get up there and I'm a little nervous, and I miss a note or two. It really bothers me. But if I've been on tour for 6 weeks, and you're doing a show every night and 2 on Wednesdays and Sundays, and you drop a note here or there, it's just no big deal. In fact, it can even become kind of a little game after a while. It's like, oh, hey, did you like that one? That one was for you, folks. So again, it comes back to we do well what we do often, but certainly don't get so wrapped up on right and wrong notes. Of course, we want to strive for the fewest inaccuracies possible, but first and foremost, always comes the music. I'm going to digress a little bit. I have spoken of Marie Speziali in the past, and one thing that she said in that same masterclass where we worked on my stance, I talked about having a firm plantation that you're standing on, kind of like a major league slugger, is that she also talked about inaccuracies and how while we don't like wrong notes, the occasional wrong note, as long as you're doing your utmost to be musical, is certainly her preference as well. She said, music is a human endeavor, and you don't want to erase the human element, otherwise it's not really music. If you want perfect music, get a computer. And I have used Miss Speziali's quote time and time again. Wrong notes, they're going to happen. It's part of being human. You want perfect music, get a computer. So again, getting back to the wrong notes, I mean for this to be kind of inclusive, for all band instruments. Again, the focus of the show, middle and high school players in general, but especially brass or trumpet players who might not have access to a private teacher, or their band director who may not be necessarily a brass or trumpet specialist, who can incorporate these tidbits to make their players and their band better. And I will say again, 2 ways to not get wigged out over public performance and missing wrong notes is to get yourself out there often. Volunteer if you are a church-going person, to play a prelude or an offertory tune or whatever, even if you're just playing the tune out of the hymnal. Get up there in front of people as often as you can. And again, that just we do well what we do often, so that just takes the edge off. I will also say that trumpet players are often accused of being a bit cocky, and I think part of that is the nature of the instrument. We have to. If you've ever seen the old movie Top Gun, all these Navy fighter pilots, who's the best of the best, and there's all the chest thump and everything. They remind me of trumpet players for the most part, because you almost have to develop, that thick skin. Some do it in a quieter manner than others, but we all kind of do it to a certain extent, and that goes back to what one of my former teachers, Mark Gould, teaches at the Juilliard School in New York, former principal trumpet of the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra, member of the New York Trumpet Ensemble, that he said that, it's not like other instruments where if, you're playing viola, for instance, you can hide in the viola section if you miss a note. Even some woodwind instruments, you can kind of hide in the woodwind section. And my favorite quote of Mark's that I like to use is, on trumpet, it's not like that. You miss a note on trumpet, the guy sweeping up out in the hall can hear it. And so that's why, sorry, that beep, that's my... I'm recording this on my iPhone. That's actually my tablet that's letting me know it's running out there. That's why we, kind of develop, that, I think it's just kind of a defense mechanism that essentially you do have to develop a thick skin because, there's no hiding behind it when you miss a note on trumpet. Back when I used to be bugler at Churchill Downs, which is a racetrack in Louisville. It's home of the Breeders' Cup every few years and the Kentucky Derby Festival races. You get heckled as the bugler. And in fact, even if you play it right, you get heckled because you do it twice before each race. You do it once to the grandstands and then once to Millionaire Row. You do it right the first time, and they'll even heckle you. You go, oh yeah, you got it once, bet you can't do it again. And of course, you do that, a dozen times a day, 6 days a week, for weeks and weeks, year in, year out. You're going to miss a post call every now and then. You're going to blow a note here and there. And when I was there in the early mid-'90s, Butch was the name of the track manager, and he would even heckle me in a good-natured way. I mean, we were friends, but he would, I'd get back in the Bugler's Pagoda, and the phone would ring, about 45 seconds after, I'd cracked a note or something on the post call, and it'd be Butch, and he'd go, yeah, Steve, I smelled that one all the way across the track. So you learn to have, a thick skin and even, kind of a good sense of humor about it. But it's something that'll never go away. It's just part of the nature of the beast with playing trumpet. So, again, I wanted to touch on those final 2 points. I think I've probably pretty thoroughly run this topic through. As always, if you have any comments, let's have them. Any questions, please feel free to contact me. And boy, this is a long episode. We're coming up on 12 minutes here. So I'm going to close here, and I will see you next time with episode 11. So as always, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.